What's up, guys? Commissioner Coach 704 PEL Primetime Elite League. Going on to the new segment here, we're going to talk about the trade rules here in the PEL, and we got a couple changes here. We're going to focus on here. First off, the league did vote not to have a trade committee, and they also voted for unlimited trades. So a little perspective on that. Last year, we did have a limit of 2 trades per season in the regular season, and we could do 2 in the off season. Trading really slowed down once we hit, I believe, year 3 last year. So I said, well, let's put it out there and see what everyone feels. And I wasn't surprised on the trade committee because I've always felt like, we should have free trade. But I did want to put it out there to get a feel for the whole league. The unlimited trades was a little bit of a surprise to me because I thought we wanted a little more regulation on that, but we'll go with the majority this year. So that's where we are with that. But we do have the PEL franchise player rule. And this pretty much was put in place to prevent teams from just being torn up totally. And the franchise player rule says that you cannot trade your top 3 overall players on your roster per daddy leagues. Okay. And that's pretty much because in the NFL, real, big franchise player trades don't happen very often, if ever. They're usually staying with their teams throughout the duration of their career, or they get cut when they get older for salary cap reasons. So that's why that rule's in place. If you do break the franchise player rule, that trade needs to be reversed immediately, and you'll be suspended for multiple games. There's no excuse for that. There's a trade tracker, of course, in transactions. We watch transactions like a hawk for any kind of nefarious activity, and there's no excuse. And no one's broken it since we put it into play, anyway. There was one time where someone asked for a waiver on the franchise player rule, and I allowed it based on the circumstances. And I thought about that, and I said, well, let's make this a rule. So we have a new rule this year. It's the PEL franchise player waiver, okay? And how it goes is a general manager has the right to use a waiver for the PEL franchise player rule once every 3 years to allow you to move a great player, okay? And I'll be tracking this myself personally, okay? And there'll be a document that I keep that'll, have it down when someone asks for the waiver, and they go ahead and use it. So once every 3 years, you have the right to ask for a waiver to move one franchise player. You can't put 3 franchise players in on the waiver. No, that's not how it works. You can use to move one player, one franchise player in a trade for whatever reason you may want to do it. Now, I'm going to caution you guys on this. In year 1, you move a franchise player, don't think I'm going to forget about it. I don't do that. And if you try to sneak one by or you try to argue that they're not in your top 3 overall, that's not going to go well for you, okay? And daddy leagues will have it there, plain and simple. If it's a rating thing where you got 4 guys rated the same or whatever, then I make a determination myself. I will just say, okay, these 3 are your best players, obviously. So if he's not one of those, then it would be okay. All right. But we're doing this to protect, rosters, and people will leave the league, and no one wants to come into a league with a roster that's just torn to hell, that they didn't build, and that's been ravaged by bad trades. So that's what we're trying to do here. We're not trying to restrict you from doing what you want to do. We're trying to keep the integrity of the league, okay? That's the purpose of this stuff. So speaking of leaving, in the event an owner leaves and a new owner does come in, the waiver sticks with the owner and not the team. And what that means is the new owner does have the right to have their own franchise player waiver, okay? Because they have the right if they want to clean up, someone's mess that they left where they built a different way than they believe in, then they should have that opportunity, okay? So don't feel bad about that. If you do leave and you used your waiver, the new owner would get their own waiver. All right. The other thing the league voted on is to have a limit on the number of first round picks a general manager can have, and that limit is a maximum of 2 first round picks. Okay. I was not very happy last year when some people obtained 3 and 4 first round picks in the draft because that's not realistic, and that's what my goal is realism not only on the field but in the front office too. Okay. So I was happy to see that this vote did get passed. I think that's more realistic and more in line with the real NFL because we do see we do see on several occasions teams have 2 first round picks. So, that's something that's relevant there. Okay. And then the last thing on trades, league management does reserve the right to reverse any trades made that are deemed one-sided and detrimental to the league going forward. And that's pretty straight up right there. If someone makes a horrible trade, we're not going to let that fly, okay? I know people value different things, different ways, and, we take that into consideration, but Daddy Leagues also has a new trade value type of thing they came up with. And I would advise if you're not a good trader, number one, stay away from it. And then number two, use Daddy Leagues as a reference, okay? Or, you can DM me. A lot of people have DM me in the past asking me if this is a good deal for them. And I'm straight up honest with them because, I really don't, care too much unless they're dealing with me. And I don't trade as much as I used to myself. So, you got different ways of finding out trade advice if you want to do it. But that's just another resource for you to use when you're making trades. All right. So if there's any questions on trades, just reach out to me. I'll be glad to explain. But I think, that stuff is pretty straightforward now, and I feel pretty good, overall where we are with trades and what was voted on. All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you watching.